Everything has to be paid for. Angola's civil war lasted 27 years. Sierra Leone's lasted 11 years. The Democratic Republic of Congo's has continued intermittently for 28 years and counting. What do these conflicts have in common? Oil, diamonds, and minerals worth billions. Resource-poor Rwanda's genocide lasted 100 days. Resource-poor Tunisia's revolution lasted 29 days. But Angola, with $60 billion in oil revenue during its war, fought for nearly 3 decades. This episode reveals the resource curse of conflict, how valuable natural resources make wars longer, more brutal, and economically self-sustaining, because controlling resources worth $1 billion annually justifies military spending of $500 million indefinitely. The self-financing war model. Angola's civil war between MPLA government and UNITA rebels ran from 1975 to 2002. Both sides financed operations through natural resources. MPLA controlled coastal oil fields producing approximately $35 billion annually by the 1990s, according to IMF and World Bank data on Angolan oil production and prices. UNITA controlled diamond-producing regions, generating an estimated $300 to $600 million annually from diamond sales, primarily through Zaire, now DRC, according to UN panel of experts reports on conflict diamonds. The economic calculation for both sides: the war costs less than the resources at stake. MPLA annual military expenditure in the 1990s, approximately $1.2 billion or 20 to 40% of oil revenue. The remaining 60 to 80% funded government operations, enriched elites, and purchased political support. UNITA spent essentially all diamond revenue on weapons, supplies, and soldier salaries, approximately $300 to $600 million annually. Both sides could sustainably finance war indefinitely. Oil and diamonds provided continuous revenue streams. Neither side faced economic pressure to negotiate because resources kept flowing. They said rich natural resources would fund development. They got 27 years of war because resources funded armies instead. The war ended only when UNITA leader Jonas Savimbi was killed in 2002, not because of economic exhaustion. The Congo minerals trap. The Democratic Republic of Congo possesses some of the world's richest mineral deposits: cobalt, copper, gold, diamonds, coltan, tin. The total value of extractable resources, estimated at $24 trillion by Congolese government geological surveys, more than the GDP of the United States. Since 1996, various conflicts have killed an estimated 5 to 6 million people, according to International Rescue Committee epidemiological studies. These wars continue because minerals finance them. Eastern DRC militias control mining areas and generate revenue from gold exports, $400 to $900 million annually. Coltan for electronics, $200 to $400 million annually. Tin and tungsten, $100 to $300 million annually. Diamonds, $100 to $200 million annually. Total annual militia revenue from minerals, approximately $800 million to $1.8 billion, according to UN group of experts reports and academic research on conflict minerals. These militias include dozens of armed groups employing an estimated 100,000 plus fighters. Average operating costs, approximately $500 million to $1 billion annually for salaries, weapons, supplies. The minerals generate enough revenue to sustain the conflicts indefinitely. Controlling one major gold mine producing $50 million annually justifies maintaining a 2,000-person militia costing $20 million per year. The resource conflict feedback loop. Minerals fund militias, militias control mining areas, mining generates revenue, revenue funds militias. The cycle is self-sustaining. The comparison with resource-poor conflicts. Resource-poor conflicts tend to end faster because they cannot self-finance. Tunisia's 2011 revolution lasted 29 days. Tunisia has limited natural resources, some oil and gas, but not enough to finance extended conflict. Neither protesters nor government could sustain prolonged fighting economically. Rwanda's 1994 genocide lasted approximately 100 days. Rwanda has almost no natural resources. The violence was intense but couldn't be sustained economically beyond 3 months. Bosnia's war lasted 3.5 years, 1992-1995. Bosnia has limited resources. All sides required external support to continue fighting. When external support ended, so did the war. Compare this to Angola, oil diamonds, 27 years. Sierra Leone, diamonds, 11 years. Liberia, diamonds, timber, 14 years. DRC, minerals, 28+ years ongoing. Sudan, oil, 22 years until separation. Colombia, cocaine, 50+ years. The pattern is clear. Wars in resource-rich areas last 3 to 5 times longer than wars in resource-poor areas, according to World Bank research on conflict duration and natural resources. The petroleum warfare economics. Oil creates particularly long conflicts because of continuous revenue streams. Iraq has fought nearly continuously since 1980, Iran-Iraq War, 1980-88, Gulf War, 1990-91, Sanctions period violence, 1991-2003, Iraq War, 2003-11, ISIS conflict, 2014-17, ongoing instability. Total 40+ years of intermittent but continuous conflict. Iraq's proven oil reserves, 145 billion barrels, worth approximately $10–15 trillion at $70–100 per barrel. Annual Iraqi oil revenue at various points. 1980s, 10–26 billion. 1990s, 3–7 billion sanctions. 2000s, $30–60 billion. 2010s, 50–90 billion. Controlling Iraqi oil fields justifies enormous military expenditure. Saddam Hussein spent $20–40 billion annually on military during the Iran-Iraq War, financed entirely by oil. The U.S. invasion cost $800 billion in combat operations, but access to Iraqi oil markets and preventing hostile control was deemed strategically valuable enough to justify the expense. Post-invasion, various Iraqi factions and ISIS fought for control of oil facilities because holding them meant revenue. ISIS at its peak controlled oil fields producing approximately 40,000–50,000 barrels per day, generating $1 to $2 million daily or $400 to $700 million annually through black market sales at $25 to $35 per barrel, according to U.S. Treasury Department estimates. This revenue funded ISIS operations across Syria and Iraq. Oil didn't just finance the conflict, it made ISIS viable as a quasi-state. The Diamond War economics. Sierra Leone's civil war, 1991–2002, was financed almost entirely by diamonds. The Revolutionary United Front, RUF, controlled diamond mining areas in eastern Sierra Leone. Annual diamond production under RUF control, estimated $2,525 million in the late 1990s, according to Partnership Africa-Canada and UN reports. RUF military spending, approximately $50–75 million annually for 25,000–45,000 fighters, weapons, and supplies. The diamonds barely covered costs, but they made the war sustainable. Without diamonds, the RUF would have collapsed economically within months. The brutality was extreme: amputations, mass killings, child soldiers. But the economic logic was simple. Controlling diamond fields meant revenue. Revenue meant army. Army meant controlling more diamond fields. The war ended only after international diamond certification schemes, Kimberley Process, and UN sanctions reduced RUF's ability to sell diamonds internationally. Cut off from revenue, they collapsed. The economic intervention succeeded where military intervention had struggled for years. The Coca conflict in Colombia. Colombia's conflict with FARC lasted 52 years, 1964-2016, making it one of the longest civil wars in modern history. The resource: coca cultivation and cocaine production. At peak, FARC controlled coca-growing regions producing cocaine worth approximately $1 to $2 billion annually in wholesale value, according to Colombian government and UN Office on Drugs and Crime estimates. FARC is cut through taxation and direct involvement, approximately $300 to $600 million annually. This financed an organization of 20,000-plus fighters. Annual operating costs approximately $400–500 million. The coca economy made FARC self-sustaining. Unlike traditional insurgencies that require external state support or popular donations, FARC funded itself through drug trafficking. The Colombian government spent approximately $3 to $5 billion annually fighting FARC, with significant additional U.S. aid, $10+ billion total through Plan Colombia. The war continued for 52 years because FARC could indefinitely finance operations through cocaine, and the Colombian government could indefinitely finance counterinsurgency through oil revenue. Colombia produces 700,000 to 800,000 barrels per day. Both sides were resource-financed, neither faced economic collapse pressure. Peace came only through negotiation, not economic exhaustion. The resource duration multiplier. World Bank research by economists Paul Collier and Anke Huffler found that conflicts in countries with significant natural resource exports last approximately 50% longer than conflicts in resource-poor countries. Their analysis of civil wars from 1960–1999 showed resource-poor conflicts, average duration 7 years. Resource-rich conflicts, average duration 11 to 15 years. The resource effect is even stronger for specific resources. Oil conflicts average 15 to 20 years. Diamond conflicts average 10–14 years. Drug crop conflicts average 12–18 years. The mechanism is straightforward. Resources provide sustainable financing that allows conflicts to continue beyond the point where economic exhaustion would normally force settlement. The looting economy. Resources don't just finance existing conflicts, they motivate conflicts. DRC's 1998–2003 war, involving 7 African nations, was fundamentally about resource access. Rwanda, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Angola, Namibia, Chad, and Sudan all intervened partly to secure mineral wealth. A UN panel of experts report documented systematic looting. Rwandan military exported $240 million in Congolese coltan. Ugandan officers controlled gold mines producing $120 million annually. Zimbabwean generals secured diamond concessions worth $300+ million. The war killed over 3 million people, but for participating militaries and individuals, it was profitable. Senior officers became millionaires through mineral extraction. This created incentives not just to continue the war, but to prevent peace. Peace would mean losing mining access. The UN report termed it resource predation, war conducted not for political goals, but specifically to extract wealth. The external profiteering. Resource conflicts attract international actors who profit from purchases. Conflict diamonds from Angola, Sierra Leone, DRC, and Liberia were purchased by international diamond markets, primarily in Antwerp and Tel Aviv, according to Global Witness investigations. These markets generated billions in revenue. Diamond traders profited from conflict stones sold at below-market prices. This created external constituencies with interest in continued conflict. Similarly, conflict minerals from DRC, coltan, tin, tungsten, entered global electronics supply chains. Major tech companies inadvertently purchased conflict minerals, according to UN and NGO tracing. Syrian oil under ISIS control was purchased by Turkish, Iraqi, and Syrian black market traders who resold internationally. Each purchase financed continued conflict. Each buyer created demand that made controlling resources profitable. International actors claimed ignorance or inability to track sources, but the economic reality, they profited from conflicts and had limited incentive to stop purchasing. The resource curse mechanism. Natural resources should theoretically fund development. In conflict zones, they fund destruction. The mechanism: 1. Valuable resource exists. 2. Military groups fight to control it. 3. Controlling it generates revenue. 4. Revenue finances military operations. 5. Military operations aim to control more resources. 6. Cycle repeats indefinitely. Peace would require resource-controlling groups to surrender wealth. This is economically irrational from their perspective. Angola's UNITA controlled 3 to 6 billion in diamonds over the war's course. Surrendering meant losing this revenue stream. Iraq's various factions fight over oil infrastructure because controlling it means billions annually. DRC militias will continue fighting as long as minerals keep generating revenue. The resource curse. Wealth that should bring prosperity instead brings endless war. The failed interventions. International interventions in resource conflicts often fail because they don't address the economic fundamentals. Military interventions defeat armies but don't eliminate the resource incentive. New groups form to control resources. In DRC, international peacekeepers have been present since 1999. The violence continues because the economic incentive, controlling billion-dollar mining areas, persists. In Iraq, multiple interventions, Gulf War, 2003 invasion, ISIS war, haven't created lasting peace because oil infrastructure remains contested. In Colombia, decades of military aid didn't end FARC because coca revenue continued. Successful interventions require economic mechanisms, diamond certification, oil revenue transparency, international mineral tracing, crop substitution programs. Sierra Leone's war ended when diamond revenue was cut off. Colombia's peace process included coca substitution. Iraq shows what happens when oil revenues remain contestable, ongoing instability. The generational wealth transfer. Resource conflicts transfer potential wealth from generations. DRC's 24 trillion in resources could fund unprecedented development, education, infrastructure, healthcare for hundreds of millions. Instead, decades of conflict have killed millions and left the population among the poorest globally. GDP per capita, approximately $500, one of the lowest worldwide. The resources exist, the wealth potential exists, but conflict prevents realization. Each year of war is another year of lost development, lost education, lost economic growth. The resources that could lift generations out of poverty instead fund the militias that keep them in poverty. The irreversibility problem. Once resource conflicts establish themselves, breaking the cycle is extraordinarily difficult. Armed groups control resources. They have military power and economic interest in continued conflict. Disarming means poverty. Continuing means wealth. The rational choice for individual fighters: keep fighting. External interventions face committed, well-financed opponents who are fighting for wealth, not just ideology. This makes resource conflicts far more resistant to resolution than ideological conflicts. Ideology can be negotiated. Economic interests in billion-dollar resource streams cannot easily be compromised. The system revelation. Natural resource wealth should be an advantage. In conflict zones, it's a curse. The resources finance endless war. The war prevents development. The lack of development perpetuates poverty. The poverty makes resource extraction the only viable economic activity. The cycle locks in. Oil worth $50 billion justifies armies costing $5 billion. Diamonds worth $500 million justify militias costing $100 million. Minerals worth $1 billion justify violence killing millions. The economic logic is perverse but clear. As long as resources generate revenue worth fighting over, the fighting continues. Everything has to be paid for, and resource conflicts are paid for not by budgets that exhaust, but by oil wells that keep pumping, diamond mines that keep producing, and coca fields that keep growing, creating wars that finance themselves forever. Subscribe to The Price of Conflict to understand how natural wealth becomes a natural curse.